Welcome to Final Approach with Chris Gregory. I am a philomath who is somebody who loves to learn things. One of the things that I've learned is that everyone has a tale to tell and a lesson to teach. From pilots to farriers to musicians to authors and creators, I'm going to explore my interests while introducing you to some amazing people. Pre-flight is complete and we have clearance, so let's kick the tires and start the fires. When it comes to well-known folks in the farrier industry, there are probably few that top Jim Poor. I've known this man since my first contest in Durango back in the late 80s, and he has never failed to be helpful and friendly. He was judging the 2023 American Furriers Convention in Reno, but I was still able to wrangle some of his time. It wasn't easy with all that he had going on, but once again, he was helpful and friendly, meeting me early to sit down. I expected some cool stories, but wow, I got so much more. This is an inspiring, funny, and great American dream story that you are going to love. We are cleared for takeoff. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you I'm so excited. I'm sitting here with the one and only Jim Poor. If you are a farrier in the last 4 decades, you know this man. So I've known him since the 80s. And Jim, thank you very, very much for taking some time with me this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
It is 8 a.m. after a strenuous week at convention. We're here in Reno, Nevada. You've been working as a judge this whole time and taking care of a lot of things. So are you winded this morning?
I think I'm tired from thinking. I haven't done anything but look at a lot of horseshoes, and there is a little thinking involved there, making sure the right guy wins.
That is stressful, isn't it?
It is stressful. I don't like this job, by the way.
Yeah, I don't either.
Everyone's going to hate you after this because somebody has to win and somebody has to lose.
Jim Keith told me you make one friend in every class.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You also, they had a big class this year, pays $10,000, the jackpot. Winner take all, $10,000. And there were some nice shoes made.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, some nice shoes. And it was very, very difficult on the judges themselves, because it got argumentative in there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You guys almost had to throw down, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, let's take a break and go away and go back and look at it again.
Well, you know what? But that's what makes you a good judge, is the fact that you're putting your heart and soul in it. Well, I probably shouldn't put this out there, but I turned down a lot of judging opportunities because I run a school.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact remains, you're going to have a controversial decision no matter what your decision is. The guys who didn't win think they should have. You're going to make enemies that you don't necessarily need to make.
Yeah. It's a little like everybody's asking me if I brought tools to sell here.
Yeah, I asked you the same.
I said, no, I'm not going to try to sell somebody something and judge their work at the same time. So I left all that stuff at home.
That's probably a very, very wise thing. So let's talk a little bit about your tool making. So I've got 1,000 things to talk to you about.
Okay.
So I first saw you 1987, I believe, Durango. You were sporting a beautiful mullet.
When I had hair, yeah.
Yeah. I had hair, but the Army didn't let me have a mullet. But your wife was striking for you. I'd never seen nothing like it in my life. That was my first contest. You and Craig and Shane, Kelly, they were over there. It was unbelievable. What was that time like for you?
Enjoyable. Like back in those days, there's no Facebook. The only time you get to see your friends is when you go to a competition or a clinic of some kind.
And the only time I got to learn.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get to go home and look at it on YouTube to check it out.
You didn't get to know anything except what you got in your truck and drove someplace and become part of that. I think one of my best stories is the TPFA, the Texas Professional Farriers Association, was going to have Randy Lucart for a clinician in Houston, Texas, which that's a 10-hour drive for me from where I live.
And you still live in Texas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is back in the 80s, early 80s, probably 85, somewhere in there. I really didn't have the money to take the drive and the hotel rooms and the whole 9 yards. And he's a long-footed guy. I don't have any long-footed horses. I shoot quarter horses.
Right.
And I thought, well, what is there for me to learn?
So how long had you been shooting at this point in 1985?
Oh, I've been shoeing forever. I mean, I grew up shoeing horses,
So you're 64 now.
I was in my 20s.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I'm doing all right. I got a good business, but
how much are you getting to shoot a horse in 1985 in Texas?
$25.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That was better than I was getting. So.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of overstated that a little bit. It's 20 for resets, 25 for new shoes. Yeah. So that's back in those days.
Back in those days.
So I'm like, why would I go to see a long-footed guy? And come Thursday, I just wanted to see my friends more than anything.
So you were already in the industry as far as
TPFA, yeah.
And were you on the team yet?
Oh, God, no.
Okay. All right.
Oh, no.
All right.
No. 4 more years.
Okay. All right.
From that point, 4 more years. We got down there, and he did a lot of trigonometry, which, oh, my God.
Yeah, he thinks like Cody.
Yeah. Some classroom work. And I'm like, oh, man, I hate classroom stuff. I want to see him shoe a horse. Anyways, we got outside, and I set up on the rail, and he shot a horse, long-footed horse.
So like he did toe weight and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, package. When I heard him talk, I caught a lot. He talked about some of his horses going 5 to 6 months in between shoeing. That makes you sit there and think for a minute.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And he says that'll tell off on your trimming, getting the foot under the leg. It just so happened right before I came, a guy calls me up that I'd shot a horse for 3 months prior. And all the shoes are still on. Feet are just really, really long. And, 3 nip arounds. But the shoes are all on.
Okay.
I noticed my left front, my right front were long, but they were still under the leg.
Good.
Right hind was still under the leg. Left hind was running south.
Okay.
The whole foot was running like that. And so I stood there and I looked at that horse and I said, I got 3 out of the 4 right. Well, I guess I was thinking about it at the clinic. I'm sitting there thinking, well, you got 3 out of the 4 right, but how did I mess that one up? And then he proceeded to show us. I learned a ton about getting a foot under a leg. I came home and it basically changed my way of shoeing.
How incredible, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. That's really neat.
Anytime you can go to a clinic, you think you're not going to learn anything. I've been to a lot of them.
And you've done a lot of them.
Later on, but prior to that, I got off my butt and I went, and it'll make you a better horseshoer. People see this guy today, myself, that's loud, talks a lot, doesn't mind getting in front of people. That's not my mentality.
Oh, yeah. You did not want to be a public speaker when you were 25, did you?
No, I was the quiet kid in the back of the crowd, hoping someone else would ask a question that I was thinking.
And that's just like Bill Poor, right?
Yeah, well, no. But back to the clinic thing, well, for instance, you and I were talking yesterday. I saw you out in California. I don't know what year. I think it's probably 99, 2000. I learned something from you. You said something in your clinic that struck home with me that I've always thought.
About the frog?
Yeah, but I really couldn't prove it one way or the other, It doesn't matter who I go see. I learn something from them.
And I learn from my students that aren't even horseshoers. Sometimes I learn what not to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible how this trade, I don't think Edward Martin knew it all. I don't think Bob Marshall knew it all. I don't think there's been a horseshoer ever that got to the end of this and said, man, I know everything there is about shoeing horses. Yeah,
what is Jim Keith say is, it's easy to learn, it's hard to perfect.
Yes. Yeah, that is very true.
That's always struck home with me,
So tell us about your beginning. I hear that you were holding horses for Bernie Chapman in the racetrack. And
when I was 8 years old.
8 years old. And so Bernie was a track shoer?
Yeah, that was right there at Lubbock, Texas, where Bernie's from.
Okay. How did you end up on the track at 8 years old?
Well, my dad loved race horses, and he shod horses. My dad would have loved to have been a successful racehorse trainer.
Okay.
But he wasn't. He made his living shoeing horses.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of trainers that make their living shoeing horses.
Yeah. The Bernie Chapman story, I'd like to tell this story. So, my dad shot horses. Back in them days, I don't remember ever being around a horseshoer that had a toolbox or any of those things. They all just carried the tools and put them on the ground.
Did they just have like a leather satchel or something and just spread it out, or just
back of the tailgate of the pickup? Just had their tools out. So I was quite used to, if the horse moved away or something, I was quite used to running around picking up the tools and then hand them to my dad. I don't know how I got the job of holding a horse, but I got the job of holding a horse. And we was in the shed row. And this sunbuck wouldn't stand still, you know, and I'm too little to
Stop it.
Yeah, just stop it, you know, and keep him in an area where Bernie could shoe him. And so they finally got a grown man over there and got a hold of the horse. But he still was up and down that shed row. It was natural to me just to grab Bernie's tools and follow him around wherever the horse went and hand him his tools. Anyways, got the horse all shod, and he gave me $2.
Wow.
Now, at that time, about $8 to shoe that horse, $8 or $10 to shoe that horse.
That's what he was getting, and he gave you two of them.
He gave me $2.
Wow. Well, so if you were 8 years old and you were born in 1960?
59.
59. Okay, so that would have been 1967, 68.
And so years later, fast forward years later, I go, there's another good story. I got a World War II veteran that I shoe horses for, and he's got 4 horses, and he always read to me the newspaper.
While you're shoeing?
Yeah, I'd never tie a horse up. He would hold the horse, basically lead rope over his arm. He read to me while I was shoeing horses.
Cool.
And he's going to go to a horse show, Abilene, Texas. And he said, it says here the Texas Professional Farriers Association is going to be shoeing horses for $40 for the public. Well, I just put the foot down and turned around and looked at him. I said, $40? And he said, that's what it says right here. It's $40. He said, they'll be there Friday and Saturday. So I went back to shoeing my horse, and got my horses all shot. And that kept eating on me. It just...
So were you a member of TPFA at that time?
Oh, God, no.
So this was before you got...
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I had 8 horses to shoe on Saturday.
And not for $40?
No.
Not even close, huh?
Not even close, no. But it kept eating on me, and so I got up early, and I went over there to the fairgrounds and just kind of drove up and just, you know how you are, kind of peek in, just kind of a jerk that not a member of anything and looking around. And I walked in, and holy crap, guys had trailers and trucks and tools that I'd never seen before in my life. A man named CB Jolly, he's not with us anymore.
Yeah, I remember CB.
Remember CB?
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy. We spent a lot of time together. Every time I had a function, CB come up and help me. But anyway, CB's got a little truck there. Very nice man, talked to me a little bit and, asked me, yada. Found out I shot horses. And he said, you ever make a horseshoe? And I said, no, I've always wanted to. But anyways, he said, jump in here.
Did you even have a forge?
Oh, no.
So just, and did you have an anvil or were you on a railroad track?
Railroad.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I still have it. My dad's, and we never used much of it except the back half of that with it had a drilled hole with a radius edge. You could open or close a shoe and bring the heels in. So anyways, he made me make a shoe. And, there's no cell phones, so I didn't go shoe my horses.
Oh, you just skipped out, huh?
I skipped out. I stayed all day.
I'll be dang.
I stayed all day. All these men were very, very nice to me. And then I found out, met John Marino, and he has a...
Was he making anvils yet?
No.
Not yet, okay.
No. He had the supply house down in Azle, Texas. He has a shop night every Wednesday night where people are able to come in and make shoes or practice for a contest or whatever. And he invited me. I also had a job back then. I had a real job.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was working on a Highline crew.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So were you a lineman?
Yeah, I had a real job.
I'll be dang. I didn't know that about
Yeah.
you. I thought you had gone.
Oh, yeah. I'm so old. They didn't even have bucket trucks back then. We climbed every pole.
Oh, geez.
I mean, they had them, but our crew didn't have one,
Right.
I guess. So.
That was for the fancy folks. Huh?
Yeah, I'd seen them, but I worked for a contractor. I didn't work for the
Right.
electric company, But anyways, this changed my life, by the way. And I guess that's why I want to stick on this story, is because it changed my life. I saw this tall dude, cowboy hat, walking around. Everybody's talking to him. And I asked CB, I go, who is that man? And he said, well, that's Bernie Chapman. I said, I just feel like I know him. And he says, well, he's a horseshoe in Lubbock, Texas. I said, I used to live in Lubbock, Texas when I was a little kid. I went over and talked to him and told him my name. He said, are you Red Poor's son?
I'll be dang.
They used to call my dad Red because he had red hair when he was younger. And I said, yeah. He said, you held a horse for me.
And he remembered.
He remembered.
Wow, huh?
And right there, I got an invitation to go to Bernie's.
What a deal.
What a deal. What a deal. I mean, so it's a life-changing experience in just one day.
So your dad, did you shoe with him like regular while you were in high school and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Take me through your childhood real quick.
I went in and got a job right out of high school because horseshoeing didn't pay anything.
What about from 8 years old till high school? You lived in Lubbock at 8, and then
we
moved?
still racetrack stuff. So we moved from Lubbock. We moved to Arizona, to Phoenix.
All the track stuff.
And yeah, all track stuff, and then back to Raton, New Mexico.
Right.
And then my dad bought a place, sight unseen, 20 acres in northern Idaho.
Oh, wow.
Just south of Coeur d'Alene, where there's a racetrack at Coeur d'Alene. We moved there in the fall.
And you were freshman or?
Yeah, I would have been my first year of high school.
Yeah.
Freshman, yeah. Like I said, we moved in the fall to northern Idaho.
Man, that must have been something. So not much shoeing to do, was there?
We got there in time just barely to get started good, and then that snow started snowing, and it didn't quit. We got 10 foot of snow that year.
Oh, jeez. Well,
Texans aren't used to that
what'd
stuff.
your mom think?
She was a RN, a nurse.
Okay.
And she got a job at the hospital right away, of course. So the horseshoeing, just if people pull their shoes off, that's it, come wintertime. And, of course, the track's not running in the wintertime. And so Dad got a job over at WSU, Washington State University, at the vet clinic. And it was about a 60-mile trip.
Wow.
He drove 60 miles every day back and forth to work, 60 miles one way.
Man.
So, yeah, I mean, on the weekends, my dad had polio when he was a kid. So my lifetime, I've seen him on crutches probably more than walking.
No kidding. So did he lose his hips or his knees or what was hurting?
I mean, you could blow on him and break a leg.
Oh, my. And he's shoeing horses?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, when I was a kid, he could run faster on crutches than most people. You couldn't get away from him.
Oh, man. Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I had half brothers and sisters. I'm an only child as far as that goes.
Okay, and were any of those shoers? Any of them?
Oh,
no, just you.
No. My oldest brother, right out of high school, he went to the Air Force.
Okay.
And then he's one of those guys, you know, he did his time in the Air Force, retired. I think he's on his third retirement now.
Get another career with a pension, huh?
I think Gobin is 76 years old. I saw him on Facebook yesterday. He's got a big old Harley. He goes on these trips. I really don't understand it, but he looks like he's enjoying himself immensely, you know.
Cool.
And to look at him, he don't look that
76.
old. Yeah, he don't look 76 years old.
Ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't seen Jim, he doesn't look 64 either. I'm a baby. You look younger than I do, and I'm 55. So how long would you guys live in Idaho?
Until the end of school. I didn't finish school.
You didn't finish school in Idaho, or
no, I didn't finish school at all.
Okay.
A lot of bad luck.
Okay.
I had very good parents, but so, for instance, my mom worked a double shift at the hospital. She was driving home one night, fell asleep, ran off a cliff, broke both legs, her back.
Oh, man.
So that was hard.
I can imagine.
And then when I was a senior, but it's pretty early on. And
Still in Idaho?
Yeah. I had a car wreck. I had a motorcycle that I'd bought 2 or 3 summers before with hay. You know, I'd worked for farmers in the summer, shoe horses with Dad on the weekends. I bought me a motorcycle to ride back and forth to school and work. And I worked for a lot of the farmers around there, especially in the summertime, not in the wintertime. Wintertime, we'd cut firewood, sell firewood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all of us kids, you know. And I had a bunch of buddies that were hard workers, and that's what we did. There was nothing else to do. Somebody's dad would loan us a pickup. We'd go cut a load of firewood, sell that.
And with 10 feet of snow, they could use a lot of firewood.
Yeah. The local gas station had a wrecker service, and they had 3 cars out there that they hadn't paid. And one of them was burned up. It was a 66 Chevelle or something like that, you know. Had big old fancy tires on it. Hit big old tires on it, you know. I could get it for $40.
Oh, my goodness.
It didn't run.
Yeah, but the tires would be worth that, wouldn't they?
Well,
maybe not then.
Yeah, I don't know. But I got the car for $40, and what had happened to it, the wiring harness had burned out. And one of my buddies, Bill Carver, his dad was a mechanic on trucks. He fixed trucks. And Bill, my buddy's like, we can fix it. I can fix that car. if you can buy it. So I bought the car. We towed it to his house, and him and I stayed up all night and just basic wiring, just enough. And we got to a point where he had to go get his dad. It didn't have any compression. Anyways, pull spark plugs out, put some oil in the spark plug holes, put him back. Whoom. And so basic wiring, that means you don't have any windshield wipers. So
do you have turn signals and brakes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Right.
And obviously, what's the first thing 4 teenagers do? Take it for a test drive. It's sleeting a little sleet coming down. So we tie 2 strings to the windshield wipers, and the 2 guys in the back are pulling the windshield wipers.
Oh.
We got it running good enough to where I could drive it back and forth. And we got lights on it finally, and yada yada yada. We got it all lit up and kept wiring on it, got it all going. Still had my motorcycle. I traded it for a .308 rifle from another kid. I didn't even have a nice firearm at the time. I had Dad's .22 is about it. I really didn't have something big enough to kill an elk with.
Right.
So I traded for this rifle, and I put it in the back seat of my car, and I was headed home. I don't know. I can't remember now. Probably 15, 20 miles home down a gravel road. Big gravel road, but it's gravel road. There's a spot there right before we get to our place. It's pretty steep, pretty uphill. And it was snowing on me hard. Big old flakes. And of course, I ain't got no heater either in the car.
And you still didn't have wipers?
No.
And you didn't have anybody?
I'm by myself.
And nobody in the back seat running the strings?
Myself.
Oh, man.
So I got my head out the window like this, and it's got big old slick tires on it. So I thought, I really need to get a run at this hill.
Oh, no.
That way I can kind of coast up it because I'm not going to have enough traction to get up this hill.
Right.
Anyways, make a long story short, that's the last thing I remember.
Oh, no.
I hit a logging truck head on at the bottom of the hill and threw me through the windshield, broken arm, leg, face, jaw.
Oh, Jim.
Messed me up pretty bad. According to the doctor, the worst injury I had was blow to the back of the head.
Oh.
And the ambulance guy, he figures that .308 that I just traded for in the back seat is what did that.
Oh, Jim.
By the way, broke my gun too.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it broke my gun too.
Oh.
So it gets worse from here. So I'm in the hospital for like 3 weeks.
How long were you unconscious? Do you have any idea?
A week or so.
Wow, this was a bad injury.
It was bad. Well, one of the nurses, I could feel my face, but it was out here. My hand would stop before I get to my face because of the swelling.
Jeez.
But I remember that part because I'd go to put my hand up and it would stop before I felt like it should stop. It'd stop out here somewhere. One of the nurses goes, "Have you ever seen yourself?" And I said, "No." And nurses are really, really nice to me. And she brought a mirror in. I'm like, whoa.
Unrecognizable, huh?
Yeah, and they'd wired my mouth shut. They left a little hole for a straw. So I had to drink everything through a straw. By the way, if you want to get on a good diet, a straw diet is not that bad.
You could drop some pounds?
You could drop some pounds fast, and I'm a little skinny kid anyways. I was going to get out the second time.
From the hospital?
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom and dad had come up to see me, and while they were up seeing me, which we're in Moscow now, it's a fair piece away from where we live.
Okay. This is the hometown hospital. They
don't have one.
Okay.
Where we live, there's not a hospital.
Is it the hospital your mom worked at then?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and a house burned down.
While they were seeing you?
Yeah, while they were up seeing me.
Oh,
so it's going downhill quick.
Man.
And so we stayed with some friends, and Dad decided we're going back to Texas.
Enough Idaho. Huh?
Enough Idaho. We're going back to Texas.
And so did you guys go back, instead of finishing high school, you went back to Texas and started working?
Yeah. Well, I wanted a car.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
Back in them days, you want a car. There's only one way to get it. That's a job.
Right. Yeah, Biden wasn't elected yet.
Nobody gave you anything.
Right.
So I got home and...
And were you recovered by the time you got back to Texas? Like, were your limbs working and your head working?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, all the bones were healed, and I took the rubber bands off my mouth.
Oh, yeah.
I just cut them off with a pocket knife.
Oh, man.
And I still had the braces, but I just cut the rubber bands off. I wanted to eat something.
I bet. I'll bet you did.
And that was probably stupid.
And do you suffer from any of that now? Like, do you have jaw trouble or?
No. My teeth had never been good.
Okay.
It screwed them up pretty good. Just recently since Kathleen and I moved to Tuscola, she got a new dentist, and she's after me to go see this guy. So, and I'd been going to a dentist before, teeth cleaning and stuff like that, and root canals, and I would wait until something broke.
Right, until you're really hurting. No other option.
Yeah, there's no other option but go to the dentist. This dentist's name is Dr. Too Good. I'm not lying. That is his real name. So Kathleen just bragged on him.
Too good to be true, huh?
It's too good to be true. And I had a front tooth that I'd had a root canal in it before. It was hurting. And anyways, went in there and met this guy, and he showed me the x-rays, and he says, we need to take that other one too. He said, if you don't do it now, he said, you're going to be back in here in a year, yada, yada, yada. And I said, well, what's the options? And he said, well, we'll make you a plate. He said, you won't have to do anything to it. I'm going to attach it to the teeth on each side. I'm like, all right, so what's that going to cost? So it's $10,000.
Wow.
But I had the money. That's the good part. Yeah. I had the money. I agreed to that. And then he did all that work on me, and I get stuff stuck in my teeth all the time. Food, pieces of meat,
right?
Bacon. I asked him about that. I said, and I had asked my other dentist about this. I said, can't you just float my teeth like a horse? Like you would a horse. Go in there and rasp them down smooth and even. And he says, absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
It's like that. I asked my dentist in Midland that, and she goes, no, you don't want to do that. And this guy's just like, absolutely. And he got in there with a rasp, and boom, overnight, something that I fought with. I could get a glass of water stuck in my teeth. And overnight, my mouth doesn't hurt anymore. My teeth, I can chew food on both sides.
Wow. So it was a big change, huh?
A huge change, something I've lived with forever.
So $10,000 was cheap.
Cheap.
That's awesome, huh?
And who else has got a too good doctor?
It wouldn't matter what you did. A name like that would serve you well, wouldn't it? You get on the team in 89, is that correct?
Yes, sir, 89.
And how many times were you on that team?
That's a little fuzzy.
Okay.
And I don't want to tell a lie, because I don't truly remember. I just took all my old team jackets and had them cleaned, and the other day I counted 8 jackets.
Okay, I figured it was going to be about 10, but...
Well, I think it was 9.
Okay.
The last year I made the team, and don't ask me the year, I have no idea what it was, but it was a really good team. But I also knew it was time for me to move on with my life and make some money.
Yeah, being on the team's expensive, isn't it?
It's very expensive. And it's a lot of time. If you're a good team member, it's a lot of time.
Yep. When
I was at the convention, I made the team. Something just clicked when I'm sitting there and I signed a paper to go on the team, because it's what I've been doing for the last 10, 12 years. So right. It's just natural that you're going to go again if you get lucky enough to make the team. The alternate was Jason Smith.
Oh, yeah. He was handy.
Young man out of California. And they got a really good team. And Jason Smith could move up and take my spot. They would have a really good team. And I walked over to the table, going to have our little team meeting. And I said, boys, I'm out. You got Jason.
Nice.
Jason, he won one of the gas forging shoes that year.
I'll be dang.
I made him a little V-tool. It was a diamond toe.
Oh, yeah. I remember that diamond toe.
I made him a tool to do that with. And anyways, the guys got together and made Kathleen and I a plaque with that winning shoe on it.
Cool.
So, thank you. Yeah. And that was the end. And then I started just really, really put my head down and my ass up, and I'm like, I got to make some money. So
I remember, it seems like so many of my early memories of you are in Durango. Because, Durango was a special place to me.
Oh, it's huge. It's a huge contest.
Yeah, it was huge. But getting to see the things, and I think there was a team practice, and I got there early because I was so eager back then,
Mm-hmm.
And you were showing your team members how to make tongs.
Okay.
And I got to kind of sneak in on the bleachers and look down over the back of Shane Carter to see how you're doing that. And then I watched you make tongs here the other day, just 3 days ago here at the convention. Jim, it was the same. It was amazing. It was like deja vu. It was incredible. So I used your tongs for decades until Cody and Jim Keith, I used his quite a bit. But, man, your tongs, they were such a change at that time from the diamond, no offset, just these pinchers to high quality tong.
I never had any lessons.
So you figured that out.
I'll tell you how that got started. Was I'm a hardhead.
Okay.
I had asked Jay Sharp if I could come up and him help me. I'm sorry to say, but he treated me like a stepchild. Like I was not worthy of learning how to make tongs.
That's too bad.
It is too bad. I go out of my way to help people just because of that.
Yes, yeah, that's a fact. I know that for a fact.
So anyways, it pissed me off. What else did it do? I came home and I had all J Sharp tongs. I knocked a rivet out of one and I laid it there like you would a horseshoe.
Okay, all right.
And I proceeded to forge my first pair of tongs.
I'll be dang.
Forged them out by hand.
But you also innovated them because in my opinion, they were better. They felt better.
Well, I think some of that came from Shane Carter. And I think I mentioned that in the clinic yesterday. Shane and I were always good friends. I think back, like I was telling you before, a lot of the times I went to a clinic or a contest just to see my friends, maybe catch up with them, see what they're doing, maybe learn some more.
Well, you talk about learning. I watched that tong demo, and then at the very end, you talked about cross-section of the reins.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. That was like...
Now, that you know what? That's the first time I've done that.
I don't know why I didn't know that. It seems so intuitive.
Yeah.
Whenever you talked about round, going to flat bottom, going to long rectangular. And I'm like, you know what? That's why I like those tongs. I don't like those tongs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are not understanding what I'm talking about, Jim drew on the whiteboard, and he said if you have a round tong rein, it's going to have more give. If you have one that's like an igloo door and it's flat on the inside and round on the outside, it's going to have a little bit less give. And if you have one that's very rectangular with flat sides, it's going to have even less give. So you can more or less program the tension you want on your reins by your cross-section.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. It was just like, it seems so simple, but here I am 37 years into this, and I learned something huge. So it was cool.
Again, that's why I go to stuff, because I can't remember the last time I did a tong demo, but it's been a few years, and I left that part out. That's the first time I actually remembered
To put it in, huh?
to add that part to the clinic.
It was amazing. I was actually like kind of blown away by it.
And like I said during the clinic, Shane and I talked about tongs.
But
If anybody knows Shane Carter knows he's handy as hell on his own.
Oh, yeah.
He figures things out on his own. At the same time period, I knew of Jim Keith. Didn't know him personally.
Was he making his tongs yet?
Yes.
I helped him with that a few times whenever I was down at his place and his, with his big power hammer and stuff.
Where his shop at the house was.
Yeah, and I would stay at his house with him.
And I had been there. I had already started. I saw how Jim did it, which helped immensely. It took off from there. And of course, being friends with Shane Carter, Shane come down. I'll never forget, I got a Big Mo of Jim Keith.
Right. I always tell the story. Was that 200-pounder?
250.
250. Okay. So I've been telling the wrong story, but go ahead.
It's 250-pound Moloch. And I found one.
The same size?
Exact same hammer.
Wow.
Went to Waxahachie, Texas, bought this hammer. That guy was cool as hell, by the way, that I bought the hammer from. And I got it home. Shane and I were talking about rebuilding nippers. And so I think maybe we had Shane down for the judge. I know he didn't come down just for that.
Right.
I think he stayed a couple extra days with me, and judged our competition. And then he stayed a couple extra days, and him and I rebuilt nippers.
Cool.
He had got a lesson from Jay. So we were doing that, And if you live in West Texas, you got a lot of nippers. I mean, my good friend Bob Pethick, he's got nippers that are 8 years old.
Yeah. And he does a lot of horses.
Yeah, he does a lot of horses. But he lives in a different part of the world.
Yep.
the guys at home, if you want to work with good tools, you're going through a couple pair a year.
Yep.
And that's if you take care of them. If you're stupid and try to take a big bite, they're not going to last that long.
Yep.
And I don't care what kind of you have if you don't take care of them.
It's just a totally different foot from New Jersey to Texas.
So anyways, him and I we did lots of stuff. Shane loved the big power hammer. So we made fullers, did nippers. We did a lot of stuff. We stayed out in the shop the whole time, And I'll never forget, Shane worked his butt off making this really cool punch to punch eyes and fullers. Did a wrap, 3/8 steel round rod wrapped handle.
Right.
It was beautiful. I mean, piece of art. And I had been punching eyes on my big power hammer, And so he handed it to me. He goes, "Here, you do it." And I'll never forget one thump with that thing. And it was stuck in that piece of steel. And him and I couldn't beat it out of there. And I still have it. I hang it on the wall. It's stupid.
Oh, man. Do you still have the hammer?
It's still stuck in a piece of steel hanging on my wall at home.
No. Do you still have the trip hammer?
No. I was going to move again, and I moved because my son Bill was not doing well in a big school. I had a customer out in the country, about 3 hours from us, in Novice, Texas. They had a small school. Bill's graduating class was 7 or 8 people, and that was a big class.
Wow.
So I sold that hammer to Mark Terry, and then when I got moved, I ordered a Sahandler air hammer.
Yeah. Because
I was really going to go into tool making.
And you did.
More heavily than I had been doing before. I was going to really, back in them days, the suppliers, I basically sold tools. I'd go to a clinic and pull up, and I wouldn't get out of my truck. I couldn't get out of my truck because there's a bunch of guys.
I was one of them.
Yeah. I would normally bring like 4 or 5 knives and maybe some fullers and
your hammers with an X on them. That was a treasure. So
I didn't have them yet.
No, but when you did, all your team members got one.
Yeah.
And all those guys were smoking me anyway, every contest. And of course it was that magic hammer, but it was, were those things like $65 in the beginning? You remember?
Yeah, probably 60, 65.
And I was getting $23 to shoot a horse. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, babe, I gotta break down. It's only 3 horses.
Well, when I started, I had diamond tongs like everybody else, just being down at John Marino's, he had a store. And so you see those J-Sharp tongs on the rack. My set of J-Sharp tongs came one at a time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't just pull in there and get a set. No, my main shoes were 1/4 inch at the time. And man, I got me a pair of 1/4 inch tongs, and it was just night and day. And so save up your money. And I can't remember what they were at the time. I can't remember the price, but it was 3 or 4 horses for me to buy a pair.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I think it's all relative, I mean, I think the guys are doing very well shoeing horses today.
Oh, yes.
Compared to when I started. And, just the people that I knew. I mean, at least in my world, I know I don't know. I watch Facebook a lot and I read a lot of that stuff. When somebody asks, well, what do you charge for something? I just think that's the stupidest question in the world. And the answers will be from here to here.
They are, yes.
Okay, so for instance, Midland, Texas, Kathleen and I bought a piece of property, 1.5 acres. This would have been like 89.
Okay.
That's not that long ago.
Well.
Yeah, okay.
When you get our age, it's not.
Yeah. Okay. So
34 years.
Okay, so but there's people here that's not even 34 years old.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking.
Our neighbor, at the time we were living in an industrial shop in industrial town because it was something I could rent.
Okay. So and it just had like an office that you converted or something, huh?
We put a shower in the office, and we slept in one of the offices, and then we had that's the same time we bought our first computer too.
Oh yeah.
Like $5,000 for this computer.
Was that hard to spend?
It really wasn't, because I like to learn, starting out to learn something you don't know how to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you learn it and you're like, okay, I'm bored with that. Now,
well, I've seen that happen to you, because you'll get a hammer and it'll be a certain way. And then next year I try to get the same hammer. You go, oh, well, I don't make those no more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of being your own boss.
True enough.
And people would say, well, I want that old one. I said, I don't make them anymore.
I know. That's what you told me. I had bought one of your hammers at an auction in Montana. It was the Shorty thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you donated it because it was like a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought it for $300 in, I don't know, 95. It was a long time ago. And then it finally was done, and I called you and I said, hey, I need another one like that. You said, no, that one was a mistake. I just donated it.
Yeah.
And I sent it back to you, and you reproduced one for me.
Okay, cool. I was nicer back then.
So go back to your story. An acre and a half, Midland, Texas. You're living in the shop.
Yep. Our neighbor had bought a house, a neighbor in an industrial building. He was fixing to retire. He was a chemical engineer, probably the smartest man I've ever been around in my life as far as education goes. The man was brilliant. He helped me a lot. And while we were there, him and I become really good friends. So, I mean, I got kind of a fabrication shop. Kathleen and I eat supper about 6:30. And I go back in the shop and work till 10:30. And I was doing ladders for a guy that was Otis Elevator. I mean, I'd build tons of ladders and safety stuff where they had going into these old hotels, putting the safety stuff in the elevators.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, because they didn't have any safety stuff when they put in.
And so you were fabbing that for them?
Yeah, fabricating that kind of stuff. And of course, I had my power hammer, and I was making tools and whatever, you know. And I was shoeing horses, too.
And were you doing any of the oil rig stuff? Or
No.
Not yet?
No, just making the tools that I was making, doing the fabrication for Otis Elevator.
Sounds like you're living Cody's life. You know,
Yeah.
just not enough hours, not enough gym.
I didn't mind it. I'm not complaining, by the way.
Right? No, you don't look like you are.
I enjoyed it. I was making money. That was my goal. And that's,
Sure.
so he came over and he says, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to move. I got a shop. I'm going to move all my stuff out there. And he says, there's an acre and a half next door to that house for sale too. I'd like for you guys to get it. If you don't want it, I'm going to buy it. At $1,800, acre and a half.
1989.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got a well and a septic tank on it.
Already.
Wow. And it's a good well. Really good well. And so Kathleen and I bought it. We bought a trailer house, moved in there, and then we started building the shop. I'm so broke that I'm trying to figure out how to build my shop, place to work. And I built it right off the end of the house because that's one wall I don't have to pay for.
Good. God bless you. That's awesome.
And you know, it's silly today. I look at it and I'm like, boy, that's
Is it still there?
of course it is.
Oh, nice.
Still there. I sold that place for almost $500,000.
Oh, that's so cool.
Everything is relative, you know.
Right.
And back in them days, I'm getting $65 to shoe a horse.
That's pretty good.
Well, you know, it was, you know, probably $10 higher than anybody else. But my buddy Bob Pethick,
Yeah, in New Jersey.
holy Toledo. But given the difference, he buys the same piece of property for $1 million.
Yes. So, you know, I hear a lot of people say it's the price of so many haircuts to shoe a horse.
Yeah.
And what I've always said is if you can't pay your rent with 10 horses, then you're in a bad economy. So if you're in Hawaii and your rent's $2,500 and you only get $100 to shoe a horse, it takes you 25 horses to pay your rent, you're way behind. But if you're in Missouri and your rent's $500 a month and you're getting $100 to shoe a horse, now you pay your rent with 5 horses and you're way ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. People would come out and look at our great big house and the great big... And by the way, I used to call that trailer house Kathleen's Hilton.
Oh, all right.
When we went up to Lubbock to buy a trailer, I'm thinking we're going to buy, you know, like something just big enough for us. That's what was in my head. You know?
But she wasn't thinking that.
She wasn't thinking that at all. My wife has always been fun to be around because I'm like, but she's also my bookkeeper and takes care of the money.
Oh, I know. And the business. If you call Flatland, you get Kathleen.
If you want the lady who runs the place or the guy who just does the work, you know. But anyways, we went up there and I'm thinking we're going to buy this little 2-bedroom single wide. No, this thing is a monster. It's a monster. And so I'm like, can we afford that? And she says, yes, we can make it work. I'm like, okay.
Well, I've heard of Paris Hilton, now with Kathleen Hilton, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But it worked out good for us. We liked doing the clinics. We liked having people over. There was many weekends those rooms were full.
When did you guys leave Midland?
Well, that's a little sketchy. That's one of the fun things about Facebook. If you put something on Facebook, you'll get a memory in a year.
So that's how
8
you know,
years,
huh?
10 years, you know. And so, yeah, I got one the other day. I think it's been 7 years.
That long?
Yeah, that long. Oil field stuff was going really good. I mean, I had 9 CNC machines running.
With oil field stuff.
I put a video on Facebook one time where I walked around, just introduced my guys that worked for me, you know, and we were running full blast. I mean, we were so busy after Trump got elected, by the way. I mean, it went from nothing to full steam ahead. My phone was ringing off the wall, oil field stuff. The day he got elected.
Wow.
I'm eating breakfast that morning, watching the news, because I didn't think he was going to get elected.
No, I didn't either. Man, I was just so giddy. I didn't sleep for 3 days.
Well, I went to bed. I mean, I didn't even stay up and watch it. I went to
Oh,
bed.
yeah, no, I didn't watch it that night. But,
But Kathleen came in. She stayed up.
Oh,
and she come in and woke me up and said he won. I go, you got to be kidding me.
I heard about it the next morning, and I was calling everybody I knew. I'm like, guys, did you see what happened?
Yeah, so that just turned around, and man, it was busy, and
Now, what about the shotgun chokes? Were you doing those then too?
oh yeah, I was just doing all kinds of stuff. I would see something and I'd make it, you know. Well, first I was shooting shotgun. Everybody that wanted a shotgun that would run every time by a Benelli. For some reason, they stopped sending the magazines, the longer magazines. And so the stuff we were shooting, open guys could have as many rounds as they want in a shotgun. Intermediate guys could have 12.
Wow.
12 rounds.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Some kind of law changed, and they couldn't ship them into the United States anymore. So as soon as I found that out, I'm like, shit, I can make that.
And then you got busy doing that.
Yeah, I made up a bunch of them and put them on eBay. Back when you could do that, $150 a piece, and I'd sell about 3 a week. Let's get back to the oil field stuff, because one of my customers came in and he goes, so what we were doing a lot of was fitting actuators to valves.
Okay.
An actuator is the electrical motor that will turn the valve on and off. And what they are is the modern version of a big wrench.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
But they can do it with their cell phone.
And so were you having to make them individual, or was there like one standard size?
There was about 10 standards.
Wow.
And then there was the oddballs. You know, the big, if you've ever seen a 20-inch ball valve.
I have not.
Well,
that's a piece of metal, huh?
Yeah, it's
material.
A lot of times they would bring me valves and actuators that we couldn't even unload with the tractor. We just they just unhooked the trailer, and I'd go out and measure everything. That's how big they were.
Wow.
So he came in one day and he had a valve, and there's a standard oil field 8-hole pattern that oil field uses. And this particular valve had 6 holes. And I didn't really understand at the time, but my customer explained to me it takes a quarter of the power to turn this valve as it does a standard ball valve.
Why is that?
Just the way it's made. It's made for a different industry, completely different industry. They'd never put them in the oil field before. So it takes a quarter of the power. Those actuators are expensive, hugely expensive. Enough power to turn the valve.
Okay.
I said, yeah. I said, make 2 flanges and weld 2 pieces of pipe. I said, I ain't going to weld it, though. I don't do welds, because everything's under pressure.
Right.
I do have a good friend that's got a welding shop, and he does that stuff for a living. And I said, I can make all the pieces, and I can take it over to him, get him to weld it up. And I said, there's a metallurgical place here in town that tests things like that. I said, if I was you, I would pick it up for me, take it over there, have them test it and certify it before I ever did anything else. So we did that. Our metallurgical place couldn't do it there, so they had to send it to Houston. So it's fairly expensive.
Yeah.
Get me to make 3 pieces, get a weld, get it certified. And he come in and he goes, is there any other way? Because it worked like a charm. He says, is there any other way we can do this? And I said, yeah, you can make them out of 1 piece. 1 piece, 4140. So you're talking about Most of the ones we made, we started out with 75 pounds and they wound up being 35 pounds. That's a lot of chips.
That is a lot of milling, huh?
It's a lot of milling.
Man.
I kind of figured it up and I figured it high, way high, because that's a lot of chips. I told him $1,495 a piece. I figured about 4 hours. Make one, and you need two. You need two for each valve.
So you're $3,000, 8 hours work.
$3,000 per deal. And he said, make me 20. So I did, and it was a learning curve from hell.
Oh, no. So was there some problems?
It's a spool. So it's all inside work.
Oh, man.
It's not just coming in from the outside and removing material. It takes special tooling, and I kept trying different tooling, different programming to program.
And do you program yourself?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of old school guy. I learned about the same time, and I'm still doing that today. But not like Austin Eaton's, oh my God, all that 3D stuff. I can't do any of that. And my son, Tyler, he's always after me, Dad, you got to learn how to, because Tyler can do it too.
Yeah, Tyler's engraving is off the charts, isn't it?
He's just smart. He learns stuff like that. I mean, this may sound lazy. It sounds lazy to me when I say it, but I'm just kind of done. Like I'm on to pocket knives now because it's intriguing and it's hard to do.
So now you are a knife maker's knife maker, and you call it a pocket knife. I thought they were only folders to knife make.
Well,
can you call it a pocket knife and still remain friends with your knife making buddies?
Well, I still do, because when I was a kid, it was a pocket knife.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, terminology, sure. So anyways, I did all the drawings, and of course, this is a big deal in the oil field, and this guy knew it was going to be a big deal. He could do the same job for half the price and still make tons of money.
And you can make money doing it too.
And he could make money doing it. And so that was going to be a huge deal in the oil field industry. He wanted to patent it. And they put anywhere from 5,000 pounds of pressure up to 20,000 pounds of pressure on these things.
My goodness.
I only got $1 million liability policy. In the oil field, if one of them things blew up, that wouldn't get you anywhere. $1 million wouldn't get you. And Kathleen and I talked about that. It scared the hell out of her. And she scared the hell out of me. He wanted me to patent it. And I said, no. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to give you the drawings, and I'm making money off of this project. Right. And I don't need to cheat. I don't need to be a jerk about it. And I said, I'm going to give you all the drawings. I'm going to have my son do it all in 3D CADs. You go get it patented. There was never a piece of paper that had Flatland Forge on it with those drawings. And that was purposeful.
Right.
And I also put designed by Van Zandt Oil on those papers, because theoretically it was their idea, not my idea. So we started making those. I had one lathe that's all it did all day long. Then I bought another one. That's all it did all day long was make them. And there's several different sizes. It ain't that easy. There's several different sizes of them. But in the end, I started out 4 hours to make one. I could do the turning in 20 minutes, and then drill and tap everything in the mill. It took about 10 minutes.
Oh my! And still the same price? Or did you go up?
Same price. You don't never go down. You never go down.
Did they end up getting a patent?
Yes, they got a patent on it, and I forget what he told me. I think it was only good for 7 years.
Yeah, but still.
It's still, in the end there, we had 3 machines running. But I still got all my old little customers. I'm still making tools.
Yeah, well, you were still making horseshoeing tools throughout the whole time, right?
Yeah, I had a guy, Robert. That's all he did. That's all he did was work on tools.
So how many employees have you had at the maximum?
I had 8.
8? And how was that?
Work.
Was it worse than working on the mill yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely good. I had a good crew. My number one man went to work for me when he was 15 years old. I got a big shop. And when I was a kid, I was always looking for a job when you're in high school.
Right.
Always need a job. I told Kathleen one night, I go, why isn't there any of these young guys stop by the shop and want a job?
Surprising.
I need somebody to clean the floor. I need somebody, I like a nice clean shop. I wanted somebody to come in every evening and sweep this thing out, mop the floors, whatever, take the trash out, just keep everything neat. That bugged me so much, I called the local high school the shop teacher. It kind of bugged me. They don't have shop class like they used to, I got to brag on my shop teacher for a minute, but he drugged me and 3 other boys to the side first day of shop class. And he goes, Poor, you, Loman, Bill, you 3 are never going to make doctors and lawyers. This is no joke. This is no joke. He said, I'm going to teach you how to weld. I'm going to teach you how to dig a ditch. I'm going to teach you how to sharpen a drill bit. I've used all them things my whole life.
I'll bet you have.
Anyways, back to the oil field stuff. He come in one afternoon. I called shop teacher. I said, you got a young man there that needs a job, got a car. And I said, I'll pay him good. If you got a good kid that will work. And I figured all shop teachers know the kids that'll work and the kids that are lazy. And anyways, he sent me 2. He said, I got 2. And I said, perfect. I'll take them both. They showed up. First thing, neither one of them had a driver's license. AJ's mother brought them. And so I went out and talked to her. She said, what time do you want? I said, pick them up at 6. So we did that 3 days. And then on the 3rd day, I went in the office and got $200 bills. And I gave one kid. And I said, I can't use you anymore. I said, I'd like to have you back, the other one.
Right.
And I went out and I told AJ's mom, same thing. I said, I can't use this boy anymore. I said, I'd love to have AJ back tomorrow. They're buddies.
Mm-hmm, of course.
They're buddies. She said, he'll be back tomorrow. And he was. So the following summer, I saw some kids at the cafe. And I asked Kathleen, I said, school out? And she said, I think so. I'm like, you still got AJ's mom's phone number? So we looked it up, the Rolodex.
Yeah, I remember.
And so we looked up, and I called her, and I said, is school out? And she said, oh, yeah. I said, where's AJ? She said, well, he didn't know whether you wanted him or not. And I said, where is he? He said, he got a job at the Subway.
Oh, my.
I said, which Subway? I said, where is he right now? And he said, working at Subway. I got in my truck, I drove that Subway and walked in there, and he said, oh, Jim. I said, drop that freaking apron. Come with me. And
did you have him make you a sandwich at least?
No.
No? You just took him, huh?
I took him. By that time, he had his driver's license. He didn't have a car. Make a long story short, I don't know how many years that kid worked for me. Almost 20.
No
Maybe
kidding.
15, something like that. I can't remember. But he worked for me a long time. He came in one time, Oldfield got really busy at one point. And he come in and he says, I got to give my resignation.
2-week notice?
I was paying him about $12 an hour.
Okay.
Oldfield's booming. He's found one of his cousins working somewhere for $20 an hour. And he could get him a job, $20 an hour.
Right. And so this is, so we have a reference, like 2000 or something?
Yeah, I don't know. It was later than that, but I can't remember exactly.
But still, $12 is a good wage.
Yeah. It's a good wage.
Because $12 now is like...
Yeah, nothing.
That's probably Subway again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so...
This was long enough ago, $12 was a man could live on it.
His Subway job paid about $5 an hour.
Okay, all right. Excellent.
He came in and I said, I was always looking for a job when I found the last one I had. I didn't hold it against him at all.
Right.
Not even at all. He's better than himself.
Sure.
He said, no, I love the job. I love working here. I said, so what's the deal? And he said, well, he told me about the money. And I said, all right, good decision, AJ. I said, thank you for telling me early so I can get somebody else. But you know what I was thinking the whole time. AJ is completely trained. I don't have to show him how to do anything.
Yeah. And to replace him is going to cost more than $20 an hour.
He shows up on time. He'll stay late if need be. This is my fault. As I walked into the house that night, I thought I should have been picking up his wages as he learned more.
Right.
That's my fault as an employer. And I went in and told Kathleen, I said, I'm going to pay AJ $25 an hour. And she said, man, that's
a big jump.
That's a big jump. That's a lot. I said, I don't want to lose him. I don't want to train anybody else. And she says, all right.
How cool.
So we...
Did he cry when you told him?
No. He hugged me.
Oh, there you go.
He's a great big old boy. He's just handy as hell.
Did he stay for a long time after that?
He stayed until I sold the business. And then he's still running the business today.
For the next guy?
The oil field business. They've already sold it twice since then.
And he's still there.
He runs the shop.
How cool.
I went by and visit him. Every time I go to Midland, I go by and see AJ. The shop is just sparkling clean. Machines are clean. Everything.
Just like you left it, huh?
It's actually a little better because they don't work as, and he was telling me, I'm like, you need to speed this thing up a little bit, buddy. But anyway, Van Zant, that oil company that we were doing all that stuff for, he come in one day and he said, you got to quit all these little people and just work for us only. I just laughed.
That's often a mistake, isn't it?
Well, that was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I already had my first drink. He's like telling me how to run my business.
Oh, man.
And I took offense to it.
Yeah.
And he was out there doing some other stuff. And I walked back in the office and poured my second drink. I walked back out. I said, I tell you what, buddy, you want to run this place? You can own it.
And he said, okay, huh?
He didn't say anything. I said, you can buy it. It's for sale. And I said, and then you want to fire these little guys?
That's you.
That's you. It's on you, not me. But these guys have fed me through thick and thin. And that's why I still make stuff for them.
Sure.
Is because when oil field was bad, they were the steady Eddie little guys that come in the shop and I'd make them 20 or 30 of this and 20 or 30 of that. They weren't any trouble. They wrote a check right then.
And it didn't matter what oil cost if they needed their part.
Yeah, they were the steady Eddie little guys.
Right.
Obviously, that was my first oil field customers was little guys that big shops wouldn't mess with them. 8 o'clock the next morning, we go to work at 7:30. All the boys are in there working by 7:30. He walked in the shop at 8 with another guy, and he said, "How much?"
And you weren't drugged now.
I wasn't ready for that. And I told him, I said, "Well, if you're serious, I'll put a number on it." And he said, "I'm serious, dead serious."
I'll be dang.
Well, I said, "Okay, give me a couple days. I got to do a little thinking here." I got Kathleen,
Your thinker,
my business partner, right? And we went out in the shop and we started a equipment list that they needed, that they had to have for their business.
The stuff you're going to take
not my forging stuff, because that ain't nothing part of it. It's just machines, forklift, stuff like that. Anyway, we put a number on it and Kathleen said, it's not enough. It seemed to be a kind of high number to me, but she said it's not enough. And I got to thinking about it. Then following morning, as I'm making another program, I've already done all the work. It's a turnkey business. All the machines, the programs are in the machine. You want to make this, you go to that, punch on that. It's all set up, ready to rock and roll. Make their parts. And of course, my wife says, that's worth something. And I got to thinking about it and I go, I could put them out of business tomorrow. That may not be that nice, but I could. Because they don't have a business without me.
Right.
So we put a number on it, high number. And then we started negotiating from there. They tried to, corporate world, they tried to, so during the meetings, thank God for blacksmithing, right? So I had a lawyer that was a part-time blacksmith.
Oh,
really
nice.
good guy.
And really wanted to get better at it.
Better yet, he did banking law. That was his profession, banking law. He was over, he came to everything, blacksmith, not horseshoe stuff, but blacksmith stuff. So we called him and he came out. We showed him what we had put down. He said, this will work out fine. But he was busy on our big meeting day, our first meeting day where they were going to actually buy us out. They owed us about $350,000.
On past due receipts already. Wow. This is a lot of money.
They weren't behind at all, by the way. This
was within the 30 days or whatever.
Yeah, they're not behind.
Man, Jim.
They weren't behind, but it's on the books. Kathleen and I realized they were trying to do was we have to turn over the bank account. And now that they own it, well, they don't owe us the $350,000.
So they're going to steal $350 out of the deal.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, more or less. And
wow.
I'm like, you owe me that $350,000. You're going to pay me off clean, and then you're going to buy this. Right. And I just got mad and walked out. Kathleen's like, and so we walked out. He called me. He called me that evening, and anyways, we set it up again. He's like, well, this is the way it works. So I said, that ain't the way it's going to work. This is my deal. I want that $350,000. I earned it. I want it. Our next meeting, I told the lawyer the situation, and he came with us. He's sitting there. So we have 2 lawyers on conference calls, 8 or 9 people sitting around a table, and they're used to buying out companies. They're like, well, we're going to take your debt.
And you don't have no debt.
I don't have any debt. We don't owe anybody anything. All the machines are paid for. We don't owe a soul. And the guy's like, what do you mean you don't have any debt? We don't have any debt. We don't owe anybody anything. Kathleen pays off everything every month.
Right.
Everything's paid for. That kind of slumped them right there. They're used to buying out companies that need the money.
Right.
And so they were being really shovey about, we're going to get you out of your debt.
We're going to save you.
We're going to save you.
Right.
Well, there ain't no saving us because we don't need saving. The third meeting, the guy wrote on a piece of paper and said he was going to pay it in full. Mike, my lawyer, my blacksmith buddy, sitting there, and I didn't catch it. Kathleen says, "Is that legal on that piece of paper?" He said, "Yeah, he signed it. Yeah, it is quite legal." We're like, "Okay, done deal."
So you went from so broke you have to use one wall of a trailer to build your shop.
Yep.
To strong arming an oil company into paying you everything you deserved.
Yep.
Amazing, isn't it?
And that's amazing. Very amazing.
What a story.
Yeah, well, I think it's the American way.
It is an American dream for sure.
It's American dream. Yes. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Jim.
I'm not done yet.
It's time to learn how to do the 3D stuff, right?
No. No, I won't do that. You know why? Because I think it has to interest you first.
Right.
But it doesn't interest me. I built me another small shop at my house.
And this is at
Tuscola.
Tuscola.
Yeah. So we got the great big shop. We make tools and have the clinics and stuff. There's so many people around there all the time.
You needed another shop.
And I can afford it.
Sure.
So I built another shop at my house. And I got CNC. Well,
do you have a farm now? Do you have a bunch of acres?
No. It's small. I got the shop, the property the shop sits on, only about 4.5 acres. The house is about 3 acres.
Is your house on the same property as
No.
Okay, so you don't live where you work.
No, we don't have to build the shop off the wall anymore.
That's good. But you're still making Flatland is still you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still making all the farrier tools that we get.
Yeah.
And how many guys do you have in that shop?
Just two.
Just two. Okay.
Just two. Yeah. And well, my son Bill, he helps out when we get behind, and we have a bin.
Okay.
Ben is a great guy. He's just around there all the time. He's a hell of a carpenter. You know, he can do a lot of things. So he's handy to have around.
Nice.
And he'll jump through his butt to do anything for me. I've done things with horseshoers my whole life.
Is Ben a horseshoer?
No. Kathleen and I, our first CNC machine, we went to an auction, bought an old wore out one for $100.
$100?
$100.
Oh my goodness! Was it an old Akuma or?
No, it was a Bridgeport actually, a Bridgeport Series 2.
It was CNC.
It was a CNC machine, but it's a 1980 model.
Wow!
And both computers were as big as the machine. It'd take a really good forklift just to put the computers on the trailer. So of course the computer stuff is old technology, and Kathleen and I had learned that you could buy aftermarket controls. And so Kathleen and I rigged up our first one and got it running and made my first hammer on one.
Is that the hammer with the diamond on it?
No.
Okay.
No.
So how did you make that hammer?
Well, I made it a couple of different ways. I did that in Novice.
Novice, Texas.
Yeah, Novice. That was in the 90s that I did that diamond-sided hammer.
Okay. So
I made my hand first, a lot of grinding. Well, actually, the original ones were made out of diamond hammers.
That's what I heard.
It was a joke. So Grant Moon and all the guys were lightening up their diamond hammers, like just grinding the centers out of it. And of course, Grant Moon's hammer looked like you did it with a chainsaw. And so, I got a little mill, a little tabletop mill.
Okay.
And then I would mill them out to get the nice, crisp diamond. Well, I sell so many of them, I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up.
Well, because I tried to get one, and I went to the booth at the trade show in, I don't know, Little Rock or somewhere, I can't remember. And you're like, no, man, I'm sorry. we sold out before I got here.
They're just amazing. They sold so fast. And so I went from there to Trinity Forge in Dallas, and they forged them for me. Heat treat, they all broke. A couple grand there I lost. That hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And then actually, I was reading Guns and Ammo magazine, and they were talking about Mr. Ruger. Everybody knows Ruger rifles, right? And they had started up a investment casting to make a lot of the parts for the guns. And I'm reading all that, and they got the whole article, you know. So I had Kathleen look up investment casting companies. So we found one. I went down, you know, had the pattern, and I said, "Can we make this?" Is oh yeah, this is perfect for casting. Yada yada yada, you know. So I did that.
Oh, those are the ones that broke?
Hell, everything broke. Start with everything broke.
I talked to you probably in the mid-90s. I was trying to build knives. And I asked you about heat treating.
Uh-huh.
You said, well, I'll tell you everything I know. And one thing I do know is that nobody knows a dang thing about this.
Yeah.
You said it's like even the guys that are supposed to know at NASA don't know.
Yeah, well, you know, I got on, after we got a computer, you know, I got on there one night trying to find you know, some information on heat treating 1144 stress proof. Well, it's 44 points of carbon. I was using 4140 anyways. Make a long story short, I got on the internet one night and looked up a heat treating group, 1144 stress proof. I'm like, cool. So I'm just reading, you know, all these guys are engineers and professional heat treating guys, and I'm a freaking horseshoer. And I'm reading, there's some words in there I can't even pronounce. And then comes up this big long one, and the guy's an engineer at General Motors. And they were making car parts out of 1144 stress proof. And he's talking about these things cracking later. Everything's good to start with, and then in the cool down period, they start to crack. I'm like, that's what happened to me. And then I'm trying to find the answer, you know, and there's tons of answers, and
All different?
all different. You know what I told Kathleen when I went in the house that night? I'm going back to 4140.
I'm going to talk to you right after that because I think you told me that story on the phone. You're like, Chris, just so you know, nobody freaking knows.
And then the knife world is the same way. There's so many ways of doing it.
Well, tell us about your knife making. So ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, Jim's one of the most generous people I know. And I've done some veteran benefits and some other stuff. And you never fail to send us a masterpiece. And it's pretty incredible. So you've turned into a knife maker. Like, you'll make a knife just so you can cut one piece of cake, huh?
Pretty much. And it's a little like horseshoeing, easy to learn. It's impossible to master.
There you go. That's a very good way of putting it.
It's back to the old thing we were just talking about, horseshoeing. It intrigues me to try to solve a problem. Not that I like problems by any means. They just seem to follow me. I'm a little impatient. That's a downfall. It's being impatient. And I'm always in awe of people like Jim Quick. Jim Quick came down to a folder class that we had.
Folder's pocket knife. Just checking.
Pocket knife. Yeah. But there's a lot of different types.
Oh yeah.
So you got your slip joints and you got your liner locks and you got your back locks. There's tons of them. So they're all pocket knives to me. They're made to put in your pocket.
Okay.
He was very quiet. In fact,
Jim Quick was quiet?
Yeah. I have beds down in the basement in my shop. People call it my bunker, but it's not really, never meant to be a bunker. It's my reloading room.
But it could be.
It could be. Okay, it could be.
All right.
And I got a couple bunk beds down there. And Kathleen and I was going to put Jim up at the house. He goes, no, I'll stay in the shop. So he stayed down in the shop, bunk room. He said, that way, because Jim's an early bird. You know, he gets up early. And so that way he can get up and do stuff before everybody gets there. And fair enough. I like that myself. So it'll be quiet in the morning. I think he made 4 pages of notes.
During the folder class?
Yeah, during the folder class. He made 4 pages of notes.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure he finished 2 knives throughout the class. There's a little corner over there with a little bench, and he drug a stool over there. So we got tables and chairs laid out for everybody to sit and work, right? Well, he got a bar stool and a little corner of a bench, and he sat over there by himself. But I saw the notes, and I'm like, can I get a copy of them notes? Because I'm not a note taker. I think I remember it.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I just thought it interesting how much better learning he was than I am, because the first class I went up to Bill Burke's in Boise, Idaho. Took the class up there. Rick Dunkery taught it. And he wouldn't let you move on until all 6 of us was to this point.
Oh, wow.
So everything went good for me. I mean, right off the bat, I did everything right. I just followed what they showed us. There's no forging involved. It's cut and paste, cut and grind and
It's stock removal.
Yeah, and you take a pattern and you trace it out onto a piece of steel. I did bring my own Damascus for that class.
Nice.
The knife turned out beautiful, but other people had problems. As somebody did something wrong, I can forge, so they all thought I was smart. I mean, yeah, hardly. We're supposed to drill an 1/8-inch hole, and he accidentally drilled a 3/16 hole where the pivot pin goes. And he came to me first because him and I got along pretty good. We're pretty good friends already,
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, what am I going to do? I'm like, hell, I don't know. Start over. I'm like, go ask Bill. And so he walked over to Bill Burke and he goes, I drilled the wrong hole. He goes, oh, you dumbass. And he goes, all right. He reaches up in the pin, pulling out. I didn't know they made 3/16
He had a pin, huh?
pivot pins. He's like, every new pivot pin, he's like, all right, now you got to go back and do this, this, and this. You're just going to put a bigger pivot pin in it. Throughout the 4 days we were there, a lot of things went wrong for people. Like I said, I got lucky and mine just clicked together and boom, done. But I got to see a lot of mistakes. So I came home, I had to order some stuff. I didn't have all the tools, the pins and the yada yada. I didn't have it all, but I had a list. And so I ordered all this stuff immediately when I got home because I'm one of them guys, I know myself. I need to repeat that
Right
as
away.
soon as possible.
Yeah.
As soon as possible, I need to repeat that, what I was taught. I got all my stuff in. Saturday morning, I started on my second pocket knife. I also made a book, notes, Jim Poor notes, mostly pictures. Mostly pictures. Every mistake that you could make, I made.
When you made the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But I'm like, okay, you screwed up, but you can fix this. This is how you fix this. Like say the lock, if you cut it a little short, that's another thing that happened in class. And Rick just took a little ball peen hammer and started forging the lock.
So just drew it out.
Cold. Just drew it out. I'm like, oh, cool. That makes sense. So every mistake that could be made, I made. And they just started getting easier and easier and easier.
Well, I've never, Jim Quick's a friend of mine, but I've never held one of his folders, but I've seen some on Facebook and he is doing some beautiful work.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. And what reminded me of that was our heat treating conversation. He's even taken a heat treating class, another 4 pages of notes.
Yeah, Cody went and took one of those. And have you had much conversations with Cody about this sort of stuff?
Not a little bit, not a lot, but just here and there, yeah.
Because he loses me so fast, Jim. I'm such an artistic person compared to my son. And I think Randy Luckhart would be taking notes with Cody,
Yeah.
Your knife making, have you been on Forest and Fire?
Yeah.
How many times have you been on?
Just once.
Just once?
Just
Did
once.
you win it?
No. Oh. No. My knife broke. Speaking of heat treating.
Did you get to go home?
Yeah.
And then you went back and it broke?
No. I didn't make it to the final round.
So you didn't make it to go home? Yeah, neither did Kelly.
Yeah.
She was on it, and her and Raleigh were on it together.
Yeah.
And Bill, now your son, the stuff that he puts on Facebook, the Damascus and the patterns and the...
Yeah.
What the heck is going on there?
I don't know. I don't really... Bill did a Damascus class at the shop a couple weekends ago. I've always done that. So he always expects, and I let him know quite clear that I ain't running it. That's your deal, not mine. I said, you can use the shop. I'll be here to help, but that's it. And I also shoot 22s every Saturday morning.
Yep.
So I told him I ain't going to be here on Saturday.
So before we get there, shooting 22s, what's that mean? Are you hunting rabbits? Or
Oh, no. They're precision 22s. Bunch of old men that can afford really nice 22s with giant long-range scopes on them. And we shoot little bitty targets, set on a bench. Years ago, I think that looks so boring. sat on a bench. And now I'm the guy sitting on a bench, and I just enjoy the hell out of it.
Oh, be dang. And Bill shoots long range, but we're talking like miles long range.
Miles. I shoot 22s, you know.
The scope that he had on his long range rifle, did you make that? It was like, is that 6 inches above the barrel?
Oh, no, Bill. That's all Bill. I thought that was the dumbest thing in the world. I told him so, too. That's stupid.
But it worked, right?
It worked. He was the first guy to do it.
I know. It was.
Yeah, he was the first guy to do it. Okay. Several things. And now
that's what they do.
That discipline caught on. I mean, they got telescoping scopes. So one of the big, you know why he did that, right? To build that scope up 4 inches?
For the fall or whatever.
No, because otherwise there's so much cant in your gun. It's artillery, basically.
Okay.
And there's so much cant in your gun, you can't see over your barrel.
I see. So he had to get a vantage point.
Yeah, he had to get up above his barrel to where there's so much arc in it that he can see over his barrel and see the target.
You know, because I like guns, and I was looking at that, and I'm like, where did he get that? I didn't know what it was, you know.
Yeah. It's one of those little strange disciplines, you know. I mean,
and they're shooting like 4,000 feet and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean the bullets are machine bullets. You know, they're about $3 a piece, just a bullet, not the whole shell.
Right.
The first gun that he had was a 408. I'm not going to say the last name. Cheney, I think. That sucker shoot, you know, and he was doing all this crazy crap, and he wanted me to help him, you know, and I'm like, he's over my head.
That's how I am with Cody.
Yeah, I mean, he's so over my head, and then he's got our little shop mule, and he's loading 2x4s on it, and I'm just, it's in the afternoon, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he tries to explain to me, he's always got marks on it, all the way up. So he sets it in the air in 14 feet. When he goes at 200 yards and starts shooting this and dialing in each time, and it should come up, the bullet should come up here, come up here, come up here, come up here, come up here. And I don't know, I grabbed me a beer and went down to the range with him, you know, and just to watch. It worked. It worked. I didn't really understand it, to tell you the truth, but I knew it worked. I mean, he says, okay, I should hit 4 3/4 inches higher than the last shot.
And it did.
And I'm like, okay.
That's cool.
The math is hard for me, but he did it. And a few weeks later, he made that first long shot.
Do you know what his record is? Do you remember?
It's been beat now.
Oh, okay.
It's been beat now. The first one was 3 miles, and the last one was 4 miles.
That's just kind of hard to imagine, isn't it?
Yeah. He had to get a bigger gun to shoot 4 miles. But, you know, he's so good about Facebook stuff. You know, he'll tag the bullet company, yada, yada, yada.
Yep. He's smart.
I picked up UPS, come in one day at the shop. There's a heavy box to Bill Poor. I go, hey, you got something in the mail. You got something UPS. He went over and opened it up. It's about $2,000 worth of bullets.
Wow.
Just a bullet, machine made, solid copper
so
bullet.
You're not machining the bullets yourselves then?
Oh, hell no.
No?
No. I did do it, of course.
Of course. Okay. So
I'm a little too redneck for that.
We have got some stories that we got to tell. Can you tell us about shooting your neighbor's trailer?
All right. I built a Civil War cannon.
Right. And how many friends do you have with cannons? Probably a bunch, right?
No, not really. It's one of those things, you know, Kathleen and I was headed up to a contest somewhere, and I always wanted to stop at Stillwater, Oklahoma, where the artillery base is, and there's a big museum there. I just fell in love with the cannons, and they had a book on cannons. Of course, I bought the book, and they also had some actual reprints of Civil War cannons, blueprints.
Oh, really?
They had actual blueprints. And, of course, I bought that.
Of course.
And I got home, and I kind of read through the blueprints, and I started building me a cannon, and I machined the bullets. So the 7.5 pound bullets, they're not a ball. I didn't like the ball thing. And they got read up on it, and there's a lot. In the Civil War, they just did all kinds of stuff, you know, to kill people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
and get more accurate, get more accuracy. There was one of my favorites was a bullet had basically a washer behind it and a piece of lead. There's a half-inch piece of lead in the back. So what they were doing was
like a three-piece unit?
A three-piece unit, yeah. And so when they packed that in there, the concussion, when it went off, hit the bullet in the barrel so hard that it spread the lead sideways and caught the edges of the barrel. Because if it's a smooth bore,
okay,
so it became more accurate. So I'm like, I got a lathe, I can do that. And anyway, so I made the chain links, everything on my cannon was hand forged.
Wow.
I mean, every piece, and it kind of got, I'm one of those guys that think I can do something in half a day. That turned into be, week-long project.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of fun. Every time I'd have a clinic at the shop, I'd always shoot the cannon. Everybody wants to shoot the cannon, right?
Who wouldn't? Yeah.
And so I have a big pit, a big rock pit in the back. At that time, I didn't own it. I owned it later, but so it was downhill. And so I took my tractor and made a mound out behind the shop, faced it out towards the rock pit. There's no houses over there, by the way. We set up 2 targets. The smart guys are really going to laugh at this one because I'm not that smart. We set one at 100 yards and one at 200 yards. So we shot the first round, hit the target at 100 yards.
First round?
Yeah.
Wow. So
I had practiced this too, by the way.
So are there sights on the cannon?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And elevation. But the problem with cannons are they roll back.
So you have a new position to start from.
You got to roll back into your original position and adjust for the next shot. So, of course, we shot and everybody laughed. It was cool, right? So I doubled the powder on the next one, but this is something I hadn't practiced before. I got a target at 200 yards now, so I thought, man, I got to get some powder in there to get that thing out there. So I did that. Shot, missed, hit the berm, big pile of dirt out there. Boom, dirt flew up, everybody laughed, went and got another beer. I said, that's it for the night, because it was getting dark. It was still daylight, but it was fixing to be dark. Okay. So everybody back in the shop, we're back to making horseshoes. Next morning, I was up early, walking around the shop, picking trash up and stuff. And I noticed a sheriff's deputy down by the oil well, over this way. And he's looking at that oil well, back and forth. Oh, I left a part of the story out. So Todd Walker Todd worked for me for a couple of years. Right after we shot it, he's tugging on my shirt going, I saw that thing skipping across the pasture that way. And I'm like, oh, Todd, it's dead right there where it hit the dirt. He goes, I don't know. I saw something. I don't know what it was. And I'm like, it's fine, Todd. Don't worry about it. So back to the next morning, I see the sheriff's deputy down there. He's down there in the pit. There's my berms, there's my targets. Then he got up and he started walking around in the pasture up there. So I just, out of curiosity, I just walked down there to see what he was doing. And he said, well, we had a little incident with your neighbor over here last night. He said, I'm trying to figure out what happened. He said, she's got a big hole in the side of her house, knocked the TV out and some other things. And I'm just thinking maybe this pump jack might have blown up or something. And this is right the direction Todd said he saw.
A piece going, huh?
Piece going through the grass. So typical me. I'm like, what time was it last night? He said, well, she didn't really know because she didn't see it till this morning. She was in her back bedroom watching TV. He said, well, I'm going to walk back over there. And I thought, well, I'll walk over there with you. Yeah, there's a hole inside the house. Anyways, I told him, I said, I shot my cannon last night about 6:30, 6:45, and it's possible I could have done that. And he goes, cannon? I'm trying to explain we're shooting this way and house is way the hell over this way. Before I know it, there's 40 cops at the shop.
Oh no.
And we're fixing to have a contest.
So you're getting ready for starting a horseshoeing contest?
Yeah, we're fixing to have a contest. Kathleen's in the office getting everybody registered and signed up for the contest, right?
Yeah.
I'm fairly lucky because the younger deputy wanted to take me to jail.
The first one? The one
Yeah.
that you walked out?
Yeah, he wanted to take me to jail.
Wow.
Thank God his boss showed up. So, I mean, I noticed it. And so I went in there to Kathleen. I've never been in jail, but I figure
Good looking man like you do well.
I'm fixing to go. Yeah. And so I took my wallet out and I laid it on the desk by her. And I told her the deal. I said, they're probably going to take me to jail. Will you come get me? She never even looked up.
She's been waiting for that to happen, huh?
She didn't even look up. She didn't say she would. She didn't say she wouldn't. She just kept typing away. Anyways, we got out there and that guy's boss showed up. And I remember him grabbing him and taking him to the side, but you could still hear him. You go, he's not going anywhere. What are we going to do with it? Yada, yada. He wanted to impound the cannon and a whole bunch of stuff. To make a long story short, once he got there, he was a much more reasonable officer. He pronounces it an accident because
It was.
we are in the country.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with shooting your cannon in a rock pit. And
So those of you that are not Americans might find a problem with this. But if you're an American, you can shoot your cannon.
yeah. And so, one more thing. So Andy McConnell brought me a cap, a new cap, and he had it embroidered. Says Flatland Forge Tools and Cannon Works on it.
Were you wearing it that
I'm
day?
wearing it.
Oh, good.
I'm wearing it. And my lawyer friend, Mike, of course, it's a blacksmithing deal, and Mike was there. And Mike walks to the house with me the second time. He's like, shut up. He's trying to get me. I said, well, I did it, Mike. I mean, I did it. I don't know how else I can,
What else can we say, right?
what else am I going to say? I did it. And he said, well, just shut up. Just quit talking. So we went over to the house, and that thing had keyhole, if you'd understand what keyhole is. So it's a long gated bullet. And I had never gotten a nice round 2.5-inch hole in any target I ever shot at. Never. The thing is just tumbling in the air.
Uh-huh.
And so it goes through the target sideways. And first thing I noticed when we walked up to the house, it was a perfect 2.5-inch hole. And so it went through the side of the house. And of course it bounced all the way over there.
Right.
But it's just this perfect hole.
Just hit perfect.
Yeah, if I would have had a cell phone and a camera on it, I would have had to stop and get a picture of that. So we go in the house. I meet my neighbor for the first time, and the damn thing hit the floor, which is, it's a trailer house, but the part that I hit is the only part that's been added onto, which is like a normal house, concrete floor. Mm-hmm. And that's where their big screen television is. The damn thing went through, hit the floor, skipped up, and went right through the center of a big screen television and took out a shelf on the other side.
Wow. And did she still have the bullet?
Yeah, the bullet was in there. They didn't give it back, by the way.
They didn't?
No, they kept it. That head guy, he wanted it. And I go, you can have it.
So did you have to buy her?
And I told her, I said, I will pay for everything. I'll pay for whatever.
TV, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Well, like I always said, I never owned a big screen TV, but I have bought one.
Oh, man.
So, it's funny because every time the lady would stop by, she would have receipts for what she repaired, whatever, and I just stood there, doled it out. I never asked any questions. But the only time I really balked just a little bit is a fiberglass ladder. You know how much a fiberglass ladder costs?
I don't.
Well, I didn't either.
They're a lot, are they?
They're expensive. So anyways, and I didn't balk at that either.
So do you still own your cannon?
No, I actually sold the cannon. That's a pretty good story in itself. I took it to a big gun show in Dallas on a trailer. No, on a flatbed truck, on my flatbed.
So what did your cannon weigh, out of curiosity?
Oh, probably 450 pounds.
So it was substantial.
Yeah. I mean, it was basically a miniature Civil War cannon.
Okay.
So I put it up on the flatbed. I was kind of getting into a different kind of shooting by then, and I put a for sale sign on it. And my phone number. And a guy calls me. He said, I want to talk to you about this cannon. I went out there and priced it. I don't remember, $3,500, $4,000, something like that. He says, where you deliver it? I'm like, where do you live? I don't like the big city. And it wasn't that far. So I said, yeah, I'll bring it over there. So got over there and got to talking to him. I go, just out of curiosity, why do you want a cannon? He said, well, wife and I bought a place up in Oklahoma. I haven't met my neighbors yet, but here they have cannons. So he said, I thought if I owned a cannon, they'd give us something to talk about.
Well, it also keeps them safe as well. That's one thing nice about Missouri. You know, if you flip somebody off in a pickup, he's probably got a pistol just like you do. So,
Yeah.
So people are polite.
Damn right. Damn right. And, you know, people are polite in my part of the world. They always have been. You know, you don't ever see much road rage.
No.
Around where I live.
It ain't worth it.
No.
Yeah. Well, I tried to work for a carnival, and I was going to be a human cannonball, but they fired me. Well, Jim, I can't believe how long we've been going. This has been amazing. Do you have a dad joke for me?
No, I don't really have jokes. I could tell you a few things about my father. I used to say my dad. I'd say, it's too bad you weren't rich. I'd have been a good rich kid.
Instead of Jim Poor, huh?
Yeah. And he would be like, you'd be a worthless piece of shit if I was rich. You know, I'm not a good joke guy. I don't remember jokes real well. If somebody tells me a good joke, I got to tell it 40 times right behind it just till I remember it, you know?
Okay.
And I'm still going to forget it.
I guess my cannonball joke will have to suit for this episode then. All right.
Yeah, that'll work.
And is there anything that we haven't talked about? Is there a story that we haven't told that you'd like to tell?
This podcast is probably about horseshoers.
Actually, this podcast is about high achievers. So I call it Final Approach. I interviewed Red Steagall, you know the singer.
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly enough, he had polio that destroyed his left shoulder, and he became a famous singer guitar player and he couldn't move his arm.
I didn't know that.
He could squeeze his hand and he could squeeze the basic chords, but he couldn't move up and down the neck of a guitar. But he became famous, and polio is what kept him from being able to, play like Jimi Hendrix or whatever. So
Interesting.
It is very interesting. So I'm interviewing guys like you. You just happen to tick a lot of the boxes. You're a famous horseshoer, a incredibly successful businessman. You have all these high achieving things that you've done. So this podcast is about how people like you become people like you.
Well, I'll be done. Things that changed my life. I've already told you a few of them. My shop teacher. Remember, we've already went over that. Shop teacher, right?
No, not a lawyer, not a doctor.
I found out he was still alive.
Like recently?
No, about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, no, it would have been longer. It would have been 7 or 8 years ago, because I still had a big shop in Midland.
Okay.
And I found, when I went to a high school reunion and stayed with one of my high school friends, and he told me that Mr. Carter was still alive. And he's on Facebook. And I go, holy crap. And we called him. Right then. Bill, my buddy, had his phone number.
Wow.
Because he didn't live too far from there. Too far to drive that day, but they had seen each other. So called him, talked to him, and he said he still subbed a little bit shop class.
How old was he?
I don't remember, but, he's obviously in his 70s. Well, he was a young man. That teaching job he got there at that little school, shop class, was his first teaching job.
Okay.
So he would have been, right out of college.
So he's 8 years ahead of you or something.
Yeah, probably, So not terribly older than me by no means. Anyways, talked to him, said he's still subbing a little bit. Kathleen and I made a video of the shop. I asked him, would he like to see what I'm doing now? He said, I'd love to see it, Jim. And so, and he knew a lot about me. He kind of kept up with me through.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, he knew a lot of things that had happened in my life.
That's really cool, huh?
And anyways, I made the little video and sent it to him. And he called me. We'd already moved. So it was going to be maybe 5 years ago. I don't know. He said that's his standard deal when he goes sub with shop class to show that video.
Oh, no kidding.
Of one of his students.
How cool is that, huh?
Unbelievable. He called me. He says, I'm going to be in Dallas. How far are you from Dallas? I said, about 3 hours. He said, I'm coming to see your shop. And he never made it. taking his wife to R.D. Anderson Cancer Center, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, that didn't work out too well, so they went on home. Oh, anyways, I didn't get to see him. Regret.
Yeah. So if you hadn't been a horseshoer, what would you have been, you think?
Don't know.
You've kind of been a machinist.
I mean, the lineman gig was good.
Yeah. Do you
I'm
think
making good money.
Would you have been able to stay with that for a career, you think? You liked it?
Yeah. I mean, I liked it just fine. Just something about horseshoeing, being your own boss.
Some people were made to be self-employed, huh?
Yeah. On the other hand, some people aren't.
Absolutely. And thank God, right? We can't all be the same.
No, and I'm a driven person. Like I said, I don't sleep much, especially.
So are you an early riser or
Oh yeah.
Okay. What time do you get up?
I get 5 o'clock every morning.
What time do you go to bed?
Nowadays, about 9:30.
Okay, so you're getting close to 8 hours, seven plus.
Yeah.
And what's your routine in the morning at 5 o'clock?
Hot tub.
Oh yeah. All right. So straight from bed to the hot tub.
Yep. Make coffee, go to the hot tub, 20 minutes. And my wife's always been a gym person.
Yeah, she's a fitness girl.
Yeah, and so she's been going, I don't know how long, forever. So 2 years ago, she's kind of whining about going by herself. And she said, you should go with me. And I just think that's the silliest. Really, in the back of my head, I just think it's the silliest damn thing. I mean, you want to exercise, go mow your grass. I mean, that's my mentality, right?
Load some hay or chop some wood, huh?
Yeah. So anyways, I started going with her. We had a guy trainer. She's always had a trainer. And and that's the other thing. I just kind of ask her sometimes, I'm like, what do you need a trainer for? You've been doing this stuff for so long, you know
everything.
You know how to do it. She knows more than most of the young trainers we got. And she says, I need motivation. I need to be there on time.
Accountability.
Yep. I need to be there. I'm okay with that. And so 2 years ago, I started going with her. Maybe more, I don't know. Started going with her, go 3 days a week. And we had a guy trainer. And it was fine. I got along with him just fine. And anyway, he's going to quit. That's the deal with trainers. They're like horseshoers. They come and go.
Okay.
In the industry. I didn't know that, but Kathleen.
She did.
She knew it.
Yeah.
He was trying to turn Kathleen, because this is her deal, not mine, turn us over to so-and-so. Kathleen knows all them guys. She knows them all. The guy's lazy, this guy, whatever. I mean, she knows them all. She sees them in the gym. And then he said, well, there is this young girl. And Kathleen like, no, girls are too soft. So Kathleen works at it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she comes out of there sweaty. She works at it. And she said, I had a girl trainer before. They're just too soft. And anyways, we met her. She would come down to the gym and we met her. I don't know. I thought she's fine. I don't know. So we don't have any. But by this time, I'm in the routine. I'm in the routine to go 3 days a week. And so I kind of got after Kathleen. I said, we got to pick somebody, right? And she was him haul around. And I said, let's just take that girl. Let's do that. This has been a couple years. She's great.
So you still have her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't get rid of her. Wouldn't trade her for nothing.
So if she came to you and said, hey, I got another job, more money, you'd say, hey, Kathleen, we got to pay her more, huh?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I hope she's not listening. For sure. So are you doing strength training? Are you swimming? Are you lifting? Are you cardio?
Strength training.
Okay.
Well, we do. She's got a whole system of stuff we do Monday, and it's changed up every time. It's something different every time. You know how you're supposed to set up straight with your shoulders back and down?
Yep. You're
supposed to set like that, not like you're setting right now. Just a few weeks ago, she put me on a new machine, did little exercises, and I noticed when I got out of that machine, my shoulders were back and down. They're still that way. They stuck.
Do they hurt?
Chest was tight. The muscles in my chest was tight, but not hurt. No. Oh my God, that's the other thing. You can't tell her you hurt anywhere.
Oh yeah.
You can't.
She'll go after you, will she?
No. She slacks up on you.
Oh, I see.
But She's very knowledgeable about the human body, and if you do have a cramp or something, she knows exercises right now to get rid of that cramp.
Cool.
And
so she's a professional.
She's a professional.
Really good.
And better yet, I guess I'd been going about a year. She came in one morning and she says, "Are you famous?" And I said, "I don't know, not really." She says, "I just told my husband your name this morning, and he says he's the most famous guy in the horseshoeing industry."
You might very well be.
And I'm like, "Why would your husband? He shoes horses."
No kidding. Yeah. I'll be damned.
I think that's pretty cool.
Well, and you didn't know it for a whole year.
Yeah, I've known her for a whole year. Well, she has a lot of people. She trains a lot of people. That's what she does all week long.
And so she didn't get to know you personally until a year later, huh?
Well, she knew my name. Right. It didn't mean anything to her. Yeah. So,
I'll be dang.
And so I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. And she's we've had 2 clinics at the shop since then. And she's come to both of them. Husband came too. Nice guy, very nice man.
So you're 3 days a week in the gym, and the other 4 days a week you're in the hot tub?
No, I'm in the hot tub every day, 7 days a week.
So what time do you go to the gym?
6 o'clock.
Wow. So you got to get up pretty early, get in the hot tub, get your coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Head to the gym.
It don't take long. And I set an alarm.
Yeah.
I very seldom ever.
Yeah. My alarm's set at 4, and I bet I don't hear it twice a year.
Yeah, I have to. Generally, what happens to me, I'm in there making coffee when the alarm goes off, and I have to run in there and find it first, and then shut the dang thing off. So I'm generally up long before the alarm goes off.
Yeah, I guess I don't even set it anymore. It's been years since I set it. I only set it if I got to catch a plane or something, and then I'm.
Yeah.
I still don't hear it, but I don't know. Gregory men have always been early risers, just the way it is, I guess.
Well, I think for sure in my world, the most successful people I know are early risers.
Me too. The guys I know that are really going somewhere, if I text them at 4 a.m., they text me back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You can Jim Quick's a really good friend of mine, and you get a text from him at 5 in the morning.
Yep. Well, the thing is, I think that is we get the same amount of sleep. I go to bed earlier. I get up earlier. But the people that stay up late, the hours from 7 till midnight, they're not usually that productive. But the hours from 4 a.m. till 7 a.m., those are really productive hours. I don't know why, but it just seems to be that way for me.
Years ago, Shane Carter was doing a clinic, and he said, "I can get more done between 8 and noon than I can from 1 to 5.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Me too.
And I believe that. I'm much more useful.
Yeah, and in the evenings, I just don't have it. I just I'm kind of brain dead, I guess.
Yeah, well that's old age, I think.
Yeah.
What that is, because when I was a young man, I like I said, I would go eat supper, and then I'd go back out in the shop.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Yep. Well, sir, you have been a very gracious guest, and I've known you for a long time, but I haven't known you this well. And I think that the people that listen to this podcast are going to get to know a side of you that they hadn't heard. So I thank you for being so open and honest, and thank you for all you've done for so many. Guys, if you don't own some Gym Poor stuff, just go to any auction. And it's just unbelievable what you've done for so many people. So thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
Thank you, Chris. It was a pleasure.
In 2011, I was asked to help develop a new hoof knife for the 120-year-old knife-making company Mora Frost Knives in Sweden. They came to the Heartland and we tried several models, whittled on handles, changed blades, and played around with getting what I wanted in a hoof knife. At the end of this process, they offered the knife to me as my signature knife. It was a cool little side trip in my farrier career. 10 years later, Mora Frost dropped all of their hoof care line. My son Cody was making tools by this time, and we were able to get some of the tooling and materials to start building them here in Missouri, the middle of the USA, or the Heartland, as we call it. This great hoof knife has a hoof pick on one end that we call the rooster tail and is handy for cleaning feet, helping with the hot fit, or even picking up a hot shoe that has fallen out of the hot fitters. Visit heartlandhorseshoeing.com or your favorite farrier supply store to order yourself or your favorite farrier a set of these great hoof knives.